Hello, in a few of my recent videos, I was talking about the azimuth angle of the sun in the southern hemisphere and how it proves a globe Earth, not a flat Earth. I received an email from one of my viewers who gave me a website that has different web cameras around the world. After a little bit of digging around, I found that I guess the government of Chile has a website that gives access to at least two webcams at one of their airports. They have a picture over here, and I've done a little bit of investigation and I've pretty much concluded that it's in a building right about here, and this looks like it's some kind of parking terminal or something like that, and this would be I guess maybe the runway and the taxiway or something like that, and there might be some other building over here, but I'm not really going to talk about that too much. So the main thing that I did was I had to wait for an evening that had no clouds. There were actually two of them, the last two evenings. So once I had good viewing conditions of the southern hemisphere, mainly towards the east and towards the west, I wanted to capture sunrises, but I kept forgetting to start the script at the right time that would catch the sunrise, and I was keeping an eye on the weather, and when it looked like it was going to be a reasonably cloudless afternoon capture to catch the sunset. So I wrote a script that would go and get a copy of the image every so many minutes. I did not want to overload their servers, so I think I set it for an interval of every 8 minutes. So once I got a number of images every so often for a couple of evenings, I then added the extra cameras with the geo coordinates for those cameras, put them into my app, and for a couple of days I can go back and forth. I only aligned the camera based on roughly where the sun was, and you'll see that in just a second. It's not quite all that precise, but it is generally pointing in the correct direction. And the one thing that I would like to stress in particular is that we are at a latitude of 54 degrees south. I've estimated just by the sun alone that camera is looking at an azimuth of 288 degrees. I've estimated an altitude of 6 degrees, but if you keep an eye on the azimuth, you can see that as the sun sets, the azimuth goes from the north towards the west and then past 270 degrees, it now starts moving towards the south. So with a little bit of investigation, I went onto Google Maps and I found the coordinates. This is the coordinates that I put in from Google Maps. I didn't really have a good enough satellite view. I'm a little bit off, I suppose. I could move this pin over here and get a new coordinate, but the main thing that I wanted to show was comparing, let's say, a street view matching this path right over here. So this is the line of sight of the camera, and if I line myself up more or less correctly, so this peak right about here is on the right hand side, and this one kind of goes up more or less to about there. So that view should represent that view there. That line of sight pretty much would run through a window right about here. My guess is that that camera is over here facing in this direction, and it took me a while to figure this out in Google Earth. It wasn't very easy to get this to cooperate, but I can go Tools, Ruler. I drop one spot over here, drop the other spot over here, and it gives me a heading of 287.72 degrees, which is pretty close to my estimated azimuth of 288 degrees. This was the sunset for the 5th. Here you can see that it was pretty much cloudy and overcast for a few days, and then when I noticed that the clouds were starting to break up, that's when I started to get the first evening's worth of sunset. And as you can see, it's tracking along just nicely, and so is the moon. And if I go to last night's sunset, I've got the same kind of sunset, and now a little bit later the moon is pretty close as well. So in both of these cases, the objects are setting down and to the left in the southern hemisphere, which is in the opposite direction of down and to the right in the northern hemisphere. So I would like flat earthers to explain how this would be possible on their flat Earth. And I'm pretty sure that no flat earther would ever bother to go to a place like Puerto Williams to find out for themselves in which direction the sun really sets. But we have technology to let us witness that for ourselves remotely and vicariously through someone else's web camera. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, you can give it a thumbs up. If you don't, you can do something else, etc., etc. You know what to do, and I'm going to see you again in another video soon enough. So bye for now.